So we've got Karen Speer, is that right? Karen Spear's here with us tonight, taking your hobby to a business. I've been really successful in turning $100 bills into $50 bills, so maybe you can help with that.
That doesn't say successful business.
Okay, it just says business.
Just
You're
says
right.
business.
So I'm gonna turn it over to Karen at this time and learn about turning it into a business.
Because I can't stay still in one spot, so that's not right. Alrighty. Now I like to talk with my hands. So holding a microphone and a clicker can be challenging. So if the slides suddenly start spinning, alrighty. Well, thank you for coming. It's exciting to hear that your extension touches, or your 4-H group touches 15,000 kids in your county. I'm from McDowell County, and I don't think we have 15,000 kids in our county. However, we do have a beekeeping 4-H group that has 6 kids in it, and 3 of them are already certified beekeepers. So they all come from the same family. All right, so we're going to talk today about turning your hobby into a small business. So before I get started, how many of you are selling honey currently? How many of you are selling honey to people that aren't your friends and family? Okay, good. That gives me a good basis. The reason that I put this talk together, I put this talk together last year for the state summer meeting. The reason I did it is when my husband Ed and I started our business, formally started our business, I spent days and days and days looking for resources of how to set up a business, who to go, who can help me, all the ins and outs. I don't want anybody else to have to go through the pain that I went through, so that's why I'm sharing this information. Now, there are postcards on each of your tables. If you don't have enough, I've got a few extra. On the back of that postcard is a website, and on that website is this presentation as well as all of my speaking notes. So you don't have to scramble to write down a website that's on this slideshow. It's online and you can just go and download the PDF. Save paper, makes it easy. When I do the summer, I'm speaking again in 2 weeks on agritourism, which is kind of the second step. And that presentation will be there as well. So if you can't make it to the summer meeting, first of all, why not? Second of all, it will be there if you want it at the end of August. All right, so who are we? Ed and I we're going on our 12th summer of beekeeping. Before we became beekeepers, or while we started becoming beekeepers, we owned a backpack hammock manufacturing company. So we came into this having already been small business owners. So we were a step ahead of some people. We have since sold that business because it got too big and we were too busy and too successful. This is a recurring theme for us. When we do really well, we get rid of it because we don't want to work that hard. Okay, so we have this little store on our property. We're going to talk about the store some more. We are chemical free. We have been since we started beekeeping. I used to say we were treatment free, but we started heat treating using the Mighty Mite killer last October. We are collecting data. So don't ask me all questions about how the heat treating is working. Our initial observations is it's working well, but I'm not going to jump into that. That's not why I'm here. Second of all, we're still collecting data. As a scientist, this is what we do. We experiment and collect data. So ask again in another year, and maybe we'll tell you what we think. So anyhow, we do have Russian descendant bees. We haven't gotten new Russian certified DNA in our bees for several years, so I call them descendants because who knows who they were mated with. However, in McDowell County, we do have a Russian bee breeder, so there are a lot of drones with Russian bloodlines. So I say that mostly because it's important in our whole treatment-free scenario. We usually run about 20 to 30 hives. As of 10:30 this morning, we have 25. Last year was a rebuilding year for us. 2 years ago, we lost 80% of our bees. Last year, we did not purchase new bees, so we rebuilt last year using survivor stock. And this year, we actually got honey, so we're rebuilding. But we're right about where we like to be. Some of the hives that we have now are just nukes, so they're not 25 honey-producing colonies. Next year, hopefully that's where we'll be. Okay, so that's where we were. When you go to set a business, you need to set some goals. What do you want to accomplish with your business? And I'm going to do this talk assuming that you guys all want to open your own honey business. I know that's not applicable to all of you, but maybe you'll pick up some hints. So what's your goal? Do you want to pay for your hobby? Most hobbies we get into do not pay for themselves. Anybody here fish? So if that's your only goal from selling honey and having a honey business, that's a great goal. Pay for your hobby. Do you want supplemental retirement income? I'm actually at the point where I'm working only 4 days a week in the other job. So I'm backing off of out of the home employment, and we are hoping that eventually this will supplement that to the point that I can get rid of the other job totally. Not there yet. Ed is retired. So this is just adding a little extra income for us. Is it a long-term career path? Are you 25? You just got out of college, and that's what you want to do for your life? If so, that's great. Hopefully in college you learn some more business classes beyond what I can tell you in 45 minutes. Do you want to have even a bigger business? In North Carolina, we have a lot of small beekeeping businesses, not like in the Midwest where they have the huge businesses, or in Georgia where they're breeding queens and they have hundreds of employees. But do you want to have a business big enough to support your family? So that you can hire your family or your neighbors or your community. So sit down, think about your goals, and then you want to write a business plan. Now, I know that sounds really scary, and there are resources available to help you do that. But the business plan essentially is an outline. The purpose, what's your organization, so let's go on to the purpose. I warned you about this clicker. Okay, so the purpose of the plan is really setting down what you want to accomplish. Unless you know where you want to go, it's hard to get there. What's your organization look like? Who's in your beekeeping business? Is it you? Is it you and a spouse? You and your cousin? You and 8 other beekeepers? What does that organization look like? You and your 8 children? Business operating history. Do you have any experience with business? Put it down. If you don't, perhaps then you want to think about getting some formal knowledge on business operating. I'm going to tell you how to get some of that a little bit later. Mission. You've probably all seen mission statements or vision statements on websites and stuff, and it looks like people put a lot of thought and practice into it. Ed and I have a mission statement, and it's on a t-shirt you'll see a little bit later. It says, know your beekeeper, trust your honey. When we make big decisions in regards to our bees and our beekeeping operation, we go back and say, does that fit with that saying? Will that work? Do I still feel confident telling people they can trust our honey? So when we looked at doing heat treatments, did we feel comfortable with that? Yes, we did. So that's the point of a mission statement, is it will help guide you in making those decisions. Marketing plan, we're going to go into marketing. Production, we're going to go into production. So let's just keep moving. So in 2013, when we did our business plan, we sat down and looked at what our short-term goals were. And I know this is a bit of an eye chart for you in the back, and I apologize, so I'm going to read it to you. Our first goal was to open our honey house, that little purple building. Notice it's not yellow, it's purple. Everybody in the neighborhood knows who owns that purple building. Our goals were to open a self-service window. That would be open Monday through Saturday, about 6 months of the year, and our goal for that was spring 2014. At that point, we also wanted to open our farm store, which would be open Friday and Saturday, June through October, in that summer. Remember those months, June through October. The second part of our short-term goal is we needed to diversify our production. We needed to have more things on our shelves. We've all gone into stores that had just one thing on your shelf, and you're like, okay, well, I don't want that, I'll turn around and go out. But if there's a bunch of things on the shelves, you start shopping, right? Browsing, see what's there. So we wanted to diversify production. Beeswax products. What could we do with beeswax? Hand-dipped taper candles. That sounded like a great idea. I could be really crafty. I could get those wicks and dip them and dip them and dip them. It would take a lot of practice, but I could do this. So that was a good thing. Solid beeswax, just selling beeswax. There's a market for that. We live in McDowell County, next to Buncombe County, next to Asheville. There's a lot of glass workers in Asheville. Glass workers use solid beeswax. A lot of crafty people. So there was a market for solid beeswax. Value-added products like lotions and lip balms. What I need to do that, my tactic for that would be I would need to develop some custom recipes, make them a little bit different. What else could we do? Comb honey. So we started a top bar hive for comb honey, and because we like to experiment. So that was something we were going to do in 2016. We were doing this in an iterative process. What could we do the first year, the second year, the third year, and the fourth year? Pollen. We said, well, there's a great market for pollen. Maybe that's what we want to do. So we spent some time learning about pollen, books and online. We knew we'd have to build some traps to collect that pollen. And in our research, we decided that the pollen maybe wasn't for us. Value-added products, seeds, plants, eggs. I have a couple dozen chickens that run around. Queen rearing, developed queen rearing newts. Master Beekeeper certification, that was scheduled for 2018, and I actually got that. So let's keep going. Okay, so here we go. This is how we did it. Self-service window. It's a yellow. The reason it's a yellow is we did not open a self-service window, but what we do is we tell our neighbors, drive in, park. If we come out in 30 to 60 seconds, we're open. So we don't have to stock a self-service window. We have people almost every weekday that come in. Ed's retired, he's usually home. If we're home and around, we come out, we sell them their honey. If we're not, they leave, they come back the next time they drive away. Farm store, so self-service window, not really, but calling it yellow because it's kind of honey on demand. Our honey farm store is open. Fridays and Saturdays regularly, usually about the 1st of June through October, and then we open up again in December for holidays. So that's definitely green. Hand-dipped taper candles. Nobody would buy them. Nobody appreciated what they were and the effort it took to make them. They all wanted poured candles in little honey beer molds. So I decided, because of that and the fact that I don't enjoy making those other candles, and candles require additional insurance, that we would not be selling candles. However, I do take the little candle molds, the little baby ones, and instead of putting a wick, I put a loop and call them a Christmas ornament. It works. Solid beeswax, we sell that. Value-added products, I do sell a lot of lip balm. I have it in 4 different flavors in the store, and I have trouble keeping it in stock. Comb honey, we get comb honey occasionally. We actually just harvested a whole bunch of sourwood comb honey. This Monday we packed it up, so comb honey this year should be green. Pollen, we decided that we did not want to deal with pollen. Couple reasons. One was for bees' health. We didn't feel like taking the baby food away. The other is pollen has to be cleaned, refrigerated, and it was just one extra step. We didn't feel that for us was worth the extra effort. Value-added products, seeds and plants. When did I say we were open? Starting in June. Nobody plants anything in June in North Carolina. So that actually did not work out for us. So we took the plants off of our rotation list. We do have some plants that we give away to people. We have some mountain mint. So if we have a kid that's really interested, we'll give him a mountain mint to take home and let it spread all over his parents' yard. So everybody happy. So that was something that was a good plan that did not work out. But if we did not have this all written down and look back at it once a year or so, we wouldn't know that we were making progress and decisions. Just because you set goals doesn't mean you can't change them. Whoops. Queen rearing, we do have queen rearing nukes. Like I said, we are in rebuilding status. We are hoping that next summer we'll be able to start selling queens again. And I got my beekeeper certification actually in 2017. That was. Okay, so what about that legal stuff? If I open a business, don't I have to get a bunch of numbers and stuff? Yeah, you kind of do. Where do you start? You have to get, I can't talk without two hands. So you have to register your business with the state of North Carolina. Depending on the type of business you are, there are different requirements. When Ed and I first started our business, we were not married. So it was not a sole proprietorship like it would be for most of you. We were actually a partnership. So our requirements were a little bit different than most people. How many of you have a farm number? 2. Okay, so the USDA farm number is free. You get it from your county-based farm service agency. And what the farm service agency does is it provides loans, farm loans, crop insurance, and disaster assistance. 4 years ago, after we had that really bad period of drought for a year and a half, and everybody was feeding their bees for well over a year, we actually applied for disaster relief. We had kept records of how much sugar we had purchased to feed our bees, and we got reimbursed about 40% of what we had fed our bees. So it wasn't millions, but you know, several $100s is handy for filling out paperwork. Because we already had a farm number, we could do that. So it's useful. Almost all land in North Carolina already has a farm number back from the late 1800s is my understanding. You just have to go and get it. Okay. North Carolina farm exemption, which is the tax exemption if you are purchasing equipment, not necessarily things for resale. So once you get your tax number and you're buying containers, you can get those tax exempt. We've all heard of tax exempt. Anybody can if you're buying it wholesale and resale. What the farm exemption is if you are buying things not necessarily for resale, but you are buying equipment, you are buying woodenware, you are buying a forklift. Oh, if you could only buy a forklift. Okay, but let's assume we were buying a forklift. If you have the farm exemption, then you do not have to pay sales tax on that. And that is income-based. It is not the 10 acres that's needed for other farm things. It is $10,000 gross revenue. Again, all these notes that I've got here are on the presentation that you can get on the website. Sales and use tax. Most honey producers do not need to charge sales and use tax. As long as you are selling products of the farm force, I'm going to read it, make sure I get it right. farm, forests, mines, and waters in their original or unmanufactured state by producers are exempt from tax pursuant to statute blah, blah, blah. So what that means is if you are the one selling your own honey, you do not have to pay the tax. Now, if I give it to somebody else to sell it for me, they need to charge sales tax. If you wholesale it, they need to charge sales tax. It also means if you are, and it doesn't mean that, there's more regulations. If you sell more than 50% of your overall sales as not one of those products, so let's say my soap making business took off and suddenly I was selling twice as much revenue in soap as I was in honey, then I would have to start selling sales tax. So this is really meant to encourage people to sell products from the farm, as opposed to all the other stuff. Clear as mud? Good, that's what I like. Okay, if you are going to, you may also need an IRS EIN, employee identification number, or your social security number if you're a sole proprietor. So this is one of the things that it depends on how you set it up. And then there's there's income tax, obviously, but then there's all the things related if you decide to have employees, workman's comp, all of that kind of stuff. So I'm a nurse. I don't know about this kind of stuff, but there are people here who do. The Business Link of North Carolina and is a free service. Their website is amazing. The very first thing is a business plan, so you don't have to go back to my presentation and figure out what I said. They will actually walk you through the process. It is free. It is free because we paid for it already with our tax dollars. The small business centers of North Carolina, there is a branch, I don't know if they call them branches, but there's a small business center at every community college in the state of North Carolina. They offer free educational courses to anybody. Most of them tend to be in the evenings. I usually look up the schedule. This time of year, the schedule is not real heavy. It gets much heavier starting in September with most of the school systems. But they offer things like how to design a website, how to set up QuickBooks, how to market, how to name something you might have a question about. There are a whole diverse arena of questions. Do you want to focus just on setting up an Etsy shop? Do you want to learn how to use web.com? Do you want to figure out how to set up your taxes? They've got amazing courses. Every college has a different set of courses depending on who's coordinating them, but they're free. I'm all about free. Okay, so if you're starting a business, start with the Small Business Center. They can help you with your startup and ongoing operations. So again, free, prepaid. We already paid for it, so go use it. All right. Enough lecture about the boring stuff. So can I start selling now? I mean, think about who's going to do your labor. Who's going to do the labor in your business? Labor. I just do beekeeping, right? Who does hive management? Monitoring, feeding, who repairs your wingware, who maintains your equipment, who paints it. If you're doing honey production, who extracts, who bottles, who labels? Is it all the same person? Might be, but it might not be. Marketing. If you're selling in a farm store, who's going to be in the farm store? If you're going to a farmer's market, are you going to the farmer's market? If you're selling mail order, who's going to package that all up and ship it to the post office? If you're doing events, who's going to attend those events? We heard Tracy talk about the 4-H groups and the help that they need, the fair. People are signing up for the fair. Who's doing that and representing your business? Who's doing the administration? Who's going to these great free classes? Who's doing the bookkeeping? If you get nothing else out of what I tell you tonight, one person in your organization being 1 to 100,000 people, one person needs to be responsible for the bookkeeping. Somebody needs to own it. Probably the most onerous task of everything we do, but somebody needs to own it. Wax products, if you're doing wax products, who's going to do that? Gift items, who's making your lip balms? And will you have employees? I don't know, those are all good questions that I can't answer for you. Production, a lot of the same questions. Financial planning, pay yourself first. Nobody in this room does that today. I was to say that. All the good business books tell you that. Plan for your healthcare costs. We'll leave it at that. Expect the unexpected, this is farming. Insurance. How many of you have farm insurance? Insurance? Okay. I promise after this slide, then we get to the really fun stuff. Okay, so there's a very good chance that your homeowner's insurance will not cover your honey business. What does that mean for you? If you sell in North Carolina, if you sell your honey or products made from honey and make more than $2,000 in a year, it's considered a business activity according to your homeowner's policy. That can mean there are limitations under the homeowner's policy for your business activity. The limit for business personal property kept at home is $2,500 and off premises is $1,500. So this can mean even coverage on your home computer if you ever use it for the business. If your business is honey extraction, woodenware maintenance, think about everything we do as a beekeeper. If your business is conducted from an outbuilding, then no coverage for that building. So if you have a detached garage where you process your honey, your whole garage could be exempt from your policy. Anybody getting concerned here? Because you probably should. There's also no liability for business activities under the homeowner's policy. So if somebody comes to buy honey from you, to pick it up, and gets hurt, there could possibly be no coverage under your homeowner's insurance for that. That's pretty scary. This is also on that slide. We're gonna, you really have two solutions here. One is that you switch from a homeowner's policy to a farm owner's policy. A farm owner's policy is not limited to farmers with 10 acres or more. It can be, we have just about 4 acres on our property right now, and we have a farm owner's policy. That policy covers all of our outbuildings. It covers if our bees were to get stolen, so it covers livestock, it covers all kinds of stuff. And it also includes liability if somebody gets injured. We switched to that from our homeowners, and it added about $100 a year, which in the grand scheme of things is not a heck of a lot of money. We got our insurance through our insurance agent, and her contact information is on that presentation. She's an independent insurance agent, and she deals primarily with agritourism. So she's the one that gave me this information to share with you. You can probably find somebody in this area who deals with agritourism. If you cannot, Tracy's contact info is in there, but this is not an ad for her. She's just a great resource for us. She is a huge proponent and believer of agritourism. And she's a saleswoman. She just wants everybody to be safe and happy. So, $2,000 a year. You're like, oh, that seems like an awful lot of money. How much do you guys sell your honey here for? We sell our honey, our wildflower honey in the squeeze jar for about $15 a pound. If we were to sell 4 cases of quartz, that's over $2,000. That's not a lot of honey. So, okay, my soaps are not covered by that policy. I actually have a separate policy that handles soaps, lotions, all the crafty stuff except for candles. And I get that independently. I went to Tracy and said, what can you do for me? And she looked at the policies and she said, I can't do better than you're getting even for the exact same policy. And I get that through Handmade Insurance online. So, the other option is you can just invest in a general liability policy. So talk to your agent, see if you're covered. Just want everybody to be safe. So, can I sell enough honey to achieve my financial goals? That's probably why you're here. Well, besides the fact that it's your club. Okay, so let's say, these are not our numbers, these are just fake numbers. So in 2018, you sold your honey for $12 a pound average. You were able to produce 1,600 pounds and you bought 800 pounds from your buddy down the street because you had more customers than you knew what to do with. So if you sell that at $12 a pound, net would be $28,800. Or gross would be $28,800. You add in where you subtract the bulk purchase at $5 a pound, subtract about $3,000 for bottling and labeling. And that gets you about $21,800. Obviously, this doesn't include overhead and all those other costs we have. This is just a slide to give you an idea of how to change things very quickly. If we increase that to $15 a pound, same production, our sales increase $8,000, $9,000. We're going to increase our bottling and labeling a little bit. We're selling more expensive honey. We'll make a prettier label. We still end up with $28,750. So $7,000 more just by raising the price of our honey a few dollars a pound. That's how you can make some money. How can you increase your net revenue? One, decrease your costs. Share your high dollar equipment. We're very lucky in McDowell County. We actually have a honey house that was part of a RAFI grant, where our club owns a honey house where we can extract. We have an automatic uncapper. We have several extractors. Everything a beekeeper needs to extract honey. So we don't pay for high dollar equipment. We just belong to our club. Anybody in the county can use it for $25, or you can become a member for $7, $10 per family, and use it for free. We get a lot of members, so. But that's a way. So share equipment. Build or fix or build your own equipment. It's always cheaper. Buy your supplies in bulk. So don't buy 100 bottles. Get in with a buddy or have your club and buy a case of bottles. Decrease your employee costs, sweat equity. How do we increase revenue? We already talked we could increase the price of our honey, could increase production, get more hives. We could expand our markets. We could diversify. Financial planning, there's lots of other resources. Unfortunately here where you aren't eligible to be for the WNC Ag Options Grant, but that's something that Ed and I were able to get. It's for Western counties, and it was part of the tobacco grant. And we were able to get a grant for $6,000, grant equals free money, that we were able to use to insulate our honey house, add power, add air conditioning, add heat, which meant we could stay open for a longer period of time. We could also diversify our products, so we could now put creamed honey in the honey house. We couldn't do that when the temperature got up to 90 degrees, because creamed honey is suddenly liquid honey. There are other agritourism grants, though. Small business loans, farming loans. Again, keep your finances straight. That one person needs to own bookkeeping. If you do nothing else, when you set up your chart of accounts, which is the listing of accounts that you use for your basic beekeeping, your sorting list, meet with an accountant to help set up that chart of accounts. Because that's one place that you could cause yourself a lot of headaches going down the road. So even if you don't want to invest in an accountant overall, get some help with that. That's professional help that's worth buying. So marketing. What is marketing? Marketing is the active promotion of a service or product to generate sales. Branding is all the other ways you promote yourself and your business's image. So what are your ideas? Anybody see what Ed's t-shirt said? Know your beekeeper, trust your honeybee. Okay, wear your clothing with your logo at your farmer's market. Giving honey to a charity auction. Providing a list of bee-friendly plants to your customers. Our website has a list of bee-friendly plants. So many people want to help save the bees. Well, if you're going to plant anyway in your yard, people want to know, well, if I'm going to plant anyway, what can I plant that's helpful? So we tell them. Provide honey tastings. We do this not only in our honey house, but we do it at other events as well. And giving talks in the community. Do you need a website? How about online sales? Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. First question I'm going to ask is, do you enjoy doing that? If this is like having teeth pulled, then it's probably not worth it to you. If you don't mind being online, if you like social media, I know everybody says, I don't like social media. Well, there's a lot of people on social media, so somebody likes it. I don't mind it, so I'm fine with it. Online sales of honey is challenging. Honey's heavy, it's hard to ship. Most of the people, we do have an online store. Most of the people that ordered honey from us on the online store have purchased from us in our store and they are reordered. So that's a great way to get repeat sales. Facebook, Instagram, we're big on Facebook, we're big on Instagram. I can't stand Twitter, I don't get it. And Snapchat, I'm just like decades way too old for Snapchat. But Facebook and Facebook and Instagram are working out pretty good for us. One thing, there are other resources that I haven't listed here. One of them is TripAdvisor. We get a lot of customers from TripAdvisor. We are physically located right off of 221, which is the main road between Spartanburg and Boone, the mountain area. So we get a lot of tourists that come up and down 221. We're a few hundred feet off of 221. So every Friday and Saturday morning, we put a big sandwich sign with a big balloon at the intersection of our road. We get a bunch of drive-by tourists that come up, they see our sign, they turn around, they come back. Another significant, probably 50%, we're going to start keeping track. We have it. 50% of our customers come off of TripAdvisor. They come, they take a hive tour, which we're going to talk about. We don't charge for our hive tours. And they say, what can we pay you for the tour of your hives for these 6 people, these 4 little crazy children? We say nothing, but if you had a good time, why don't you give us a good review on TripAdvisor? Works like a charm. They go home, they give a good review. We are the second most popular thing in McDowell County to do. We're number 2, we try harder. The first is Limbo Caverns, which has been around, well, Ed worked at Limbo Caverns when he was in high school, so it's been around for a couple of years. Okay, so before you spend any time, money, effort, in marketing, figure out who your customers are. Sales. Sales, sales, sales. Okay, how many of you sell at the farmer's market? 1. How many of you have a store or something that maybe it's not your store, but you put your honey in somebody else's store? Okay. So when we started, we actually were in the farmer's market in Hickory for 2 years. Hickory is about a 45-minute drive for us. Market opened at 8 on the dot. It took us about an hour to set up. Anybody doing the math? Every Saturday morning. Rain or shine. It was a rain or shine market. Yeah, we're not morning people. Okay. So the pros of a farmer's market, large number of customers. The reason we went to the farmer's market is when we started, we wanted a cash infusion. We knew from our previous business experience that we did not want to be doing festivals. We did not want to be hauling honey. Honey's heavy. We didn't want to be hauling that every week, over and over and over. We're getting old. We don't want to do that. Okay, so farmers market, the pros of the farmers market. A large number of potential customers. Limited time commitment. We knew 8 to 1 every Saturday, 5 hours, never minding the loading or unloading. But it's still a limited time commitment. Limited investment in display, table, banner, tent. You don't have to invest a lot of time and effort into building a building. Fast cash. Cons, weather dependent, rain or shine. Rain is not a lot of fun. You're on their schedule, not morning people. Competition with other farmers. We were very lucky in that the Hickory Farmers Market is a little unique in that they curate a lot of their vendors. So we were the only vendor that was only honey. We had a couple of farmers that also sold honey on the side, but we were the only honey seller. So it was a good environment for us. And honey's heavy. Hauling it in, hauling it out. A farm store. The benefits of a farm store is that customers come to you. We get to set our own schedule. It's easy to diversify products. If I decide to put a new variety of soap on the shelf, I just make it, cure it, package it, put it on the shelf. Boom. I don't have to talk to anybody. We can take 3 baby bears and put it on the shelf. And I don't have to clear it with anybody. Agritourism opportunities. Cons, you have to build a house. You have to build a store if you're going to have a store. You have to build your customer base. We're getting to the point where we're getting a fair amount of repeat customers now. And potential privacy concerns. Remember I told you we tell our local neighbors to drive in, wait 30 seconds? We do have a doorbell alarm. So we're not totally blind, but there's lots of people coming in and out of our driveway. Doesn't bother us. Some people it might bother. Other potential outlets: work, school, direct to family and friends, fairs, festivals, co-ops, wholesale to local restaurants. We have one restaurant. The only people we wholesale to, it's friends of ours that own it. You can wholesale to other local stores. You can sell at bulk. You can do online sales. So we just talked about some of the cons. One of the other things that we started is a honey trail. So have you all heard of like cheese trails, and beer trails, and brewery wine trails? So those type of product trails are a list of places that people can bounce from place to place to place to see a bunch of different variety within the same genre. Our honey trail is a list of all honey producers in DeKalb County that want to be added. It's free for them. We have a list of people with contacts. So if somebody wants to buy honey that's local to DeKalb County, they can just go on this website, figure out who's close. There's an interactive map, and find that person. Okay. So diversify. Honey products. Can you put honey products? You can put your honey in glass jars, leaf jars, squeeze jars, pints, quarts, etc., baby bears, big bears. So how can you package your honey products a little bit differently? Beeswax and value add. So I have 3 different soaps here. I sell my soaps for, full disclosure, $5.50 or $3 for $15. Most of our customers buy 3. So they might have bought 2, but because it's a deal, they buy 3. Swarm capture. Something a lot of us do. Cutouts, we do not do cutouts. We will do swarm retrieval. We don't charge when we go and collect a swarm. However, it is goodwill. And oftentimes those people will come visit our store. Pollination, we don't do pollination, but I know a lot of people do. A hive rental. So we do hive rentals. We call them adopt-a-hives. And we do them not only for families and couples, but we also do them for school groups. So our county was able to get a STEM grant several years ago, about 30 bee suits. and they share those bee suits around the county. And we have a couple of clubs in the county that rent a hive every year. And what we charge them is not what we charge the public. We charge them a lot less. They come, they build woodenware. They each write their name on a frame that they've put together. They paint it. They come back a couple times in the spring. They need a split or something like that. We dress them up, we bring them up to the beehives. And they take care of their hive. Then they come back in the fall. They extract that honey. Each kid goes home with an 8-ounce honey bear with a special label for their club. And our label too. We love kids. It's very frightening now to have the white activity bus come down your driveway. So they have fun. And when we go to the grocery store, oftentimes some little kid will come around and, "You're the honey lady, you're the honey guy." It's kind of fun. And then agritourism. So in addition to renting the hive for a season, we do a lot of hive tours. We don't charge. We do them Tuesday and Saturday mornings, and then other times by appointment. I did one this morning for 5 people, 2 adults and 3 kids. We don't charge, however, most of the time, I would say probably 99% of the time, they buy honey. So we get to share our knowledge. We do this because we love teaching, not because people are going to come buy our honey. That's just, agritourism. Who's heard that term? Oh, a few people. So agritourism is essentially tourism in an agricultural business. We do a lot of kids. We have chickens. Our chickens are free range. So the first thing that happens, they pull into the driveway. People pull into the driveway and the chickens come running because they know they're likely to get sunflower seeds. So it's, most of the time people are happy about that. Sometimes we have to chase the chickens away because our customers won't get out of their car, but that's okay. So what if I have a bunch of people on my farm? What's my liability? Under North Carolina law, there's a law that essentially says there's no liability for an injury or death because you're in an agritourism activity. They're wild animals and we can't control them. That's a summary of what the sign says. This is the statute. The North Carolina Agricultural Networking Association. When you join their club, you get this sign for free. You can get a metal one too you have to post it where your customers will see it. So we have 2. We have one right on the side of the honey house on the ramp where you're walking up, and then one that we put up when we do hive tours. But have you heard of the Good Samaritan law for healthcare workers? This is essentially the Good Samaritan law for farmers. Okay, so other resources, in the NCANA, that link is also on that presentation. Additional resources, your extension is obviously a great resource. Local Chamber of Commerce has been very supportive of us. They came out and did an official ribbon cutting with a video and everything. It's kind of fun. State Beekeepers Association, I know in the past, sometimes has not been as helpful as they could be. That is expanding. Their website is changing. They've got some great resources. Hey, not me. No, okay. So success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to success. If you love what you are doing, you will be successful. All right, so I have some products here. I've got a lip balm, except I package them in 2 because if you package them in 2, people buy 2, not 1. 3 bars of soap. You like that, huh? And a bag with 3 baby bears. So again, I can package the baby bear singly. People want 2, they say package of 3, they buy 3. It's amazing. I know because I'm a shopper. I do the same thing. So these are actually door prizes that I will give to Mark or Todd afterwards, and they can give them away as needed. Questions? They're totally bored. I'm sorry? Do I do my own website? Yes, it's a wix.com. I do the website for Sweet Betsy Farm, for our club, and the Honey Trail. Wix has decent prices and it's easy to work with. So we had another one before that, that was not as easy. Yes? You were just a fly. Okay. I can't help you with that. Any other questions? Why is it called Sweet Betsy Farm? That's a really good question. Yes, my name is Karen. Sweet Betsy Farm. Sweet Betsy was a chicken. One of our first chickens. She was a Buff Orpington. She was very pretty. She had a comb that had a little curl in it. She was in charge of the hen house. Ed's late mother, who I never met, was blonde with curly hair, and from what I understand, she was always in charge of the house. So we named the chicken after the mother. We named the farm after the chicken. I never met her, I'm not to blame. It was Betsy, yes. Yeah, we named the chicken after Ed's mother. We also named chickens after other relatives too, but Betsy was the one that stole our heart. Yes?
I think you said you had 4 acres.
How many, I'm sorry.
4 acres.
Yes, we have 4 acres.
I understand down there, you gotta have 10 acres to get a farm, number or tag or whatever.
There are certain tax exemptions for having, the question is, I only have 4 acres, and how can I get a farm number? There are certain tax exemptions that you can get for a farm that is over 10 acres. You do not need 10 acres to get your farm number. The property tax is based on 10 acres. So we don't get that deduction for that 10-acre farm property tax. Trust me. Did that not answer your question? You still look puzzled. The sales tax exemption is based on your revenue, and that's $10,000. The property tax is based on farm size. They're 2 different things.
Well, actually, they're not. If it's size and you have to have a suitable business plan.
For the property tax.
And it's 75%.
You have to jump through a fair amount of hoops to get that property tax exemption. Other questions? Yes?
You said there were grants in Western North Carolina. Did you learn about those through small business or?
WNC Ag Option Grants, we actually learned about that through our extension office. It's a grant that is managed out of the extension office, but not by extension, but they help do the judging and stuff. They usually give at least 1 grant per county per year, either $3,000 to $6,000, but they have more grants than there are counties, so they give multiple grants to some counties depending on what grants or what. There's an extensive application process you have to go through. And last year, 2 beekeepers in our county got it. I would say we've had a beekeeper in McDowell County get it every year for at least the last 6 or 7 years. And, probably maybe even more than that. I know we've had people that were not beekeepers, but that same year a beekeeper got it as well. So we had more than 1 grant per county. It's a great program. But I believe it only goes as far as Burke County. It was to replace the Western North Carolina tobacco farmers that were using it. It's a grant thing. But yeah, we actually applied 3 years before we got the grant. So it's not a given. Hundreds of agricultural farmers, whatever, and they fund things from everything from greenhouses to hydroponics to fish hatcheries to you name it, anything related to food production, they've gotten grants for it. It's pretty interesting. Other questions?
What do you do on a honey tour? Do you actually just walk around? Or
What do we do on a hive tour?
Yeah, we do.
We dress everybody up in bee suits. That is one thing we do. I know that there are a lot of beekeepers who don't wear full protective gear, and that's fine if it's you. But we dress everybody up. We require them to wear closed-toed shoes and socks. They have full coveralls and a zip-on hood and gloves. And we tell them a little bit about the bees initially, then we take them up to a hive. We open up a hive. We'll go down into a hive, and we have a couple hives we designate for that purpose. Horizontal hive works really well because you don't have to lift a lot of boxes to get to brood. We make sure they all see a frame of honey, and everybody in that group holds a frame of bees. It's a great photo op. And then when we get back to our area outside where our picnic table where we stage everybody, we do make sure that we have a big pitcher of ice water. And we don't do top tours if it's over 85 degrees, but we're predicted to be 85 when the tour ends. So if it's already 80 degrees, we're probably going to cancel tours. And then we take them into the honey house where we have a 4-frame observation hive. So if they haven't had a chance to see the queen, that's an opportunity to see the queen. We often have brood that they can actually see the larvae in that observation hive, depending on which side she decided to lay on. So it gives them a chance to see close up what they may not have been able to see when they were holding the frame. Yeah, we give them the whole experience. Yes?
Have to sign any kind of liability form or?
Do we have them sign a liability form? This is when I say I'm not a lawyer, but I work for one. I do too. Ed and I actually went to an agritourism conference put on by the Appalachian Sustainable Agricultural Project about a month and a half ago. And one of the speakers was a lawyer about agritourism. And the advice that he gave is if you are going to have people sign liability releases, you need to make sure everybody signs. So yes, we do. The language is essentially what is on this sign. And also we have a line that says you're not allergic to bees. We do have a first aid kit, because I know that's where your brain was going next. We have a first aid kit. We do have EpiPens. I'm certified in EpiPens by the Red Cross, even though I'm a nurse, I have to be certified. I don't understand. But anyhow, we have EpiPens. We've got basic first aid kit. Ed and I always have our cell phones on us. So we've tried to come up with a plan because we are a certified farm store. We do not have a restroom. We didn't have to because we're a farm store. It's one of the reasons we became a certified farm store. However, we do let people use the bathroom in the house if they need to go because we're just that nice. We didn't want to build a restroom facility. We would have to, do a new septic tank and yeah, we weren't going there. If we had to do that, we wouldn't have been able to open the store. Other questions? Well, thank you. If you have questions, we're pretty easy to get a hold of online.